Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for June 3rd, 2022, around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to talk about today, including the potential for Tropical Storm Alex to form over the next 24 hours and potential major impacts expected to portions of South Florida over the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's go and jump straight into everything. Taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this afternoon, we notice that we have Potential Tropical Cyclone 1. This was designated as a potential tropical cyclone last night. And what this basically means is that advisories are now being issued, including watches and warnings, because of the system's close proximity to land, mainly to portions of Cuba, Florida, and the Florida Keys. Now, with this being said, this is not a tropical depression or storm yet, but it is likely to become one within the next 12 to 24 hours or so. If we take a look here at the tracking forecast here for PTC1, soon to be Tropical Storm Alex, we notice that the storm is currently sitting right now over the Yucatan, really to the northeast of the Yucatan Peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico. And this will be launching towards the north and east over the next 24 hours or so. Landfall is expected sometime tomorrow morning or early afternoon and is expected to be around 45 to 50 miles per hour as it does so. So for those reasons, we have a tropical storm warning in effect for portions of Cuba, Florida, and the Bahamas, as this is a very east-weighted system. Current statistics on the storm, 35 knots or 40 miles per hour, so it is producing tropical storm force winds mainly well off towards the east and northeast, with a pressure of 1,002 millibars moving northeast at 5 miles per hour. Now, here is the impacts expected for potential Tropical Cyclone 1, soon to be Tropical Storm Alex. Again, we can see that storm surge and wind impacts are expected to be relatively minimal. We do not expect to see any significant storm surge or wind impacts. However, we could see some gusty winds up to about 35, 40, 45, 50 miles per hour in spots. Of course, those will be higher in some thunderstorms locally. Tornado threat is low, but it is on the higher end of that low. There is a slight risk for severe weather as a result of the potential tornado threat, and we'll get to that here in a minute. The flooding threat is going to remain the highest. This is a high-risk flooding potential. That means that we could see rainfall exceeding over 10 inches in spots. The potential for standing water flooding and flash flooding is a very real concern, and that will be remaining the top concern over the next 24 to 48 hours. So if we take a look here at the visible satellite imagery on PTC1, again, we can see that we have a very disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms. Mainly, we can see that we have a large envelope of low pressure that is kind of stretching from southwest to northeast like such. And this is representing what could be a trough in here. And again, if we take a look at the recon plane that was in there from earlier this afternoon, we notice that pressures were remaining right around 1,003 to 1,005 millibars. And we were also able to tell that, again, it's very elongated. We notice that there's not much westerly wind component here, though recon was able to close off a circulation. Now, in recent hours, we've begun to see a little bit of the potential for a center reformation that is occurring within this convective mass right here. And if this does so, again, this would put the trajectory more towards South Florida. Again, either way, the impacts remain the same. If we look at the Key West radar, we notice that there's a vast amount of convection, basically for these showers and thunderstorms that are moving northward. There's a vast amount of that, and the rain shield extends pretty far northward, and even some rain all the way up to Melbourne. And this is leading to some flash flooding or some standing water in spots, especially right along the coast here. And we will be watching for the center of this system, which is somewhere right in here, to be moving in this general direction over the next 24 hours. And this will become more apparent on the radar as time goes on. But a lot of rain expected for these areas, especially in South Florida. If you take a look here at the latest HWRF model, this is a hurricane specific model. So one of the more reliable models when we have recon data that's been assimilated, which it has been. This is the current structure that the HWRF is suggesting. Again, we notice that there's a band of convection right now that's kind of trying to develop and rotate around, and we have what could be a low-level circulation within there, and that is evident by the visible satellite here that we're starting to see maybe some hints of a low-level circulation in here that will be its launching point northeastward. And that's what the model generally predicts. But again, it shows these reformations occurring where this vortex becomes very dry and desolate, and then it tries to relocate under a new mid-level circulation, and then that one gets lost, and the cycle kind of continues until it crosses the state of Florida sometime by tomorrow afternoon. Either way, there's going to be a lot of rainfall. If we kind of look here at the relative humidity here, there's a large amount of rain within the forecast here that is basically being slated across all of Florida really for tonight into tomorrow. This deep moisture stretches all the way northward here, and if we were to take a look here at the zoomed out kind of domain sector here, we notice that there's going to be a lot of dry air on the western side here, which means that we're not going to be able to get a lot of convection on the back side of this. Typically, in a well-mature hurricane, you would have convection on the front side and then also on the back side, making up that eye wall. But in this case here, this is very strongly sheared with about 30 knots of shear pushing from west to east, and it's basically making this system very east-weighted. So by the time we actually have a circulation that is midway through Florida at this time over Lake Okeechobee, most of the associated rain has already ended for portions of Florida, and then eventually this begins to make its way over into the Gulf Stream, where some additional intensification may occur partially from non-tropical processes that will be over this region. The HMOD model for comparison, again, kind of similar. It doesn't really have as strong of a system, but a lot of rainfall expected for portions of South Florida, especially tomorrow morning and afternoon. That rain will begin to clear out, though, after tomorrow, and by Sunday, by the time we get into Sunday morning, this should all be past us, and Florida should be on the dry side, and we should be clearing out nicely for that time. Now, this is the 2 p.m. tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. We are still monitoring one additional area of disturbance, newly designated Invest Area 92L. This only has a 10% chance of development, though arguably it should have a higher chance. But this really only has a chance of development during the next 24 hours as it quickly moves off towards the east, where then thereafter shear will begin to take over and certainly end to the demise of that. So that is basically it for me today. There's probably not going to be any chase on what will be Tropical Storm Alex. Again, with my base being here in Orlando, that's, easily about a 200-mile drive down there to Miami or surrounding areas, and this is going to be a mainly nighttime event. Not really well worth it. We'll have more opportunities during the peak of the season for sure. It does so seem. So I'm not really super convinced on chasing what will be a very sloppy system here. All right. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evenings. Make sure to stay safe, and I will have another update for you tomorrow.